Kristian. Hey, congratulations on Nuevo Rico.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. It's been a long, crazy journey so far, and I mean, we're just starting. So,
Hey, so tell us, how does it feel that this short film is being showcased at South by Southwest this year?
oh, it's an amazing feeling. Like I love South by, and I think that South by is a festival that is really about discovery of new fans and like finding the freshest, most interesting cinematic voices of our time. So like just being part of that is like a true like honor, and just the fact that they're highlighting Nuevo Rico to me, it speaks volumes. It is really like a overwhelming feeling to just kind of have that and like just be able to show this to their audience, because they have such a great audience as well. So I couldn't be more delighted, honestly.
Now, this isn't your first rodeo at South by Southwest, right? You had another
No.
short film before?
Yeah, yeah. They've become kind of like definitely like my community is in a way, like or a second home. I mean, I'm from Spanish Harlem, but I have found a second home in Texas, spiritually speaking or cinematically speaking. You know, I did originally premiered like I guess what would be considered my like kind of like this big piece of mine called Balante, which was like a music video that won the jury award that year, and it really changed the course of like what my cinematic journey has been. So after that, I was fortunate enough to like submit again, and I got other music video and premiered my comedy special with Hannibal Buress there, which unfortunately, because of the cancellation, we couldn't experience. And it would have been a really amazing thing for me, especially because it was my first long form piece of content that I was having premiered at a big festival. So, that was, I mean, a lot of people lost a lot of things during the pandemic. So, I definitely, I'm grateful that, we're kind of finding a way forward anyway. And like, this latest iteration of the festival being virtual and whatnot, I think we kind of all kind of have found new footing. And so there's something to be said about just finding a way forward.
Now, this one, just like your other one, what is me? It's a musical short form. Is this just a pure coincidence, or you just love doing this type of area?
I have a history as a music video director that I'm like pretty proud of, and like I love the form of music video. And as I venture into narrative film, I think that the world of music is just something that I'm fascinated by or interested in. So it was never by sheer coincidence that I was like kind of doing music videos. I think I had a true passion and joy for the world of music and all its facets. And um, something I'm really interested in is just that how reggaeton doesn't have like a cinematic language. So like I've been trying to kind of build that a little bit, and Nuevo Rico is kind of my attempt, my first attempt at exploring that.
Well, then tell us where the original idea for Nuevo Rico came from for you. What actually sparked it?
It's wild. I mean, I'll be really candid. I had kind of like I was definitely like in a fever dream kind of like place where I was like, I had like a really vivid kind of like almost dream type situation where like I woke up one day and I was like, I don't know, like almost not possessed is a strong word, but I had like this impulse where I was like, I need to write about reggaeton, and I just started writing. And the first idea that came to me was like, I would love to see mechs in Puerto Rico, like the idea of like giant battle mechs, and like I thought that was such a trippy idea that the first iteration of Nuevo Rico that I wrote was about these two kids committing like a heist in a museum with giant battle mechs trying to like steal back their culture and like it's such a wild idea, and I was like I committed it to paper, and then I worked with my co-writer Juan Arroyo, who's from Puerto Rico, and together we kind of crafted the story from there. And we kind of let it be a living organism, so like it definitely went through a lot of iterations, and as we animated we even shifted the story. And then when we brought a producer in, she had like really strong opinions about certain facets. And she was the one who encouraged me to kind of put more music into it as a way to kind of find, there was a point in the story where we didn't have as much music, and it was like kind of almost like we couldn't tell why we love Biko and Barbie. And then like when I put the music, it kind of almost showed you like why you should root for them, you know, like why you should like triumph them as characters. So like it was really cool just to have like music be like a storytelling device. And I was trying to push for that as much as I could once we kind of discovered that that was working.
Well, then tell us how you developed the reggaeton for for this music.
Oh yeah, so we had a really great like sound composer who worked in conjunction with two reggaetoneras from Puerto Rico. So like we found well, right now is one of them. She has kind of a bit of a following and has some like credibility in like what is the underground space of reggaeton in Puerto Rico. Even though she hasn't really blown up, a lot of people are excited by her in the scene. And then the other reggaetonera is unknown, Pamela. She's a friend of ours who I met at Havana Film Festival, of all places. I had screened a film there, and you know, it was kind of like a spiritual journey again. Like going to Cuba is wild as a Puerto Rican, just because like it's like seeing a mirror version of yourself, you know, from like an alternate dimension. And like me and Pamela met there, and like we really hit it off, you know, because she was a Puerto Rican kind of just hanging out in Cuba, and we had like this instant connection. And then I didn't know she sang, which is the wild part. Like I didn't know, I've known her for like at least 2 years, and I didn't know she sang. And then like one day, just by happenstance, I heard her music, and I was like, "That's your voice!" Like I couldn't believe it. And I asked her to make like a reggaeton lullaby.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the prompt, and then she killed it.
such a small world of meeting up with another Puerto Rican.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime it happens, I'm like, whoa, great. Depending on the space, you know, like some spaces are, you know, depends on the space, you know, like some space are like corporate spaces are like predominantly white. So like, you know, if you find a Puerto Rican like existing in that space, it's like magnets. You have to like, you know, you've gone through something together that like, whether you like it or not, it bonds you.
That is true. So, how do you describe this animation style that you came up with for your short?
I'm a practitioner of bricolage, which is kind of like a collage kind of confetti style. This idea of things can interpollinate, yeah, cross-pollinate, cross-pollinate, and so like things can influence each other. And I think part of the reason I'm attracted to that is because like you know, historically the Caribbean has been kind of like a place of cross-pollination, like both culturally, racially, like, you know, social, economically, you know, like it's just like a transient place and space that even Puerto Ricans, we don't really exist necessarily just as islanders, but we mostly exist as diaspora at this point. So there's always kind of like an element of fusion in our existence, you know? And so artistically, I'm really drawn to like the idea of fusion, like kind of mixing things and like allowing that to happen. And I'm really big on discovery of style. So like I like to push boundaries when I make like design decisions or make animation or visuals, you know, like across the spectrum of mediums. And I have a really strong level of comfort just like kind of exploring. So like I think you find serendipitous magic when you allow things to cross-pollinate that you otherwise wouldn't find. So the style was really kind of just a kind of born out of like me pushing the bricolage as far as I could. So letting it be cell animation, letting it be 3D animation, letting it all be like composited and then reinterpreted, bounce to another artist who draws over it, then bounce to another artist who like has analog machines that reinterpret the footage and spit it out as an analog feed and then like recompositing it. So there's a lot of bouncing back and forth happening, and even across continents too, because our team is so global in a sense, you know. And so we've had like kind of a great sense of like playing and like collaboration happening.
Does your cultural background influence the look of the characters a lot for the short film? And did it also, how did you come up with the look for these law enforcement mech robots that you came up with the triangular heads?
That's a good question. So like, yeah, I love the character design. I remember I worked with this Puerto Rican Venezuelan character designer. So he works in like the industry as like a character designer. And so I don't know, like it's weird because like the character design scene in animation is a very particular kind of thing where like if you're a person of color working in animation, how often time you get to represent people of color in animation become like these rare opportunities, you know? So we had a long dialogue about that after the project was done, where she kind of voiced how excited she was by the prospect of creating characters that reflect her heritage and like the diversity of Puerto Rico, which kind of exists in like this vast spectrum, right? And so that definitely was a big part of it. Like I wanted it to be like a very like Afro-Indigenous kind of vibe as far as like designing the characters. And I think one of the initial prompts was just like creating them as like silhouettes that you can identify no matter where you see them. And also the idea of using shape to define them. So like Barbie kind of being more rectangular and then Biko being more circular. And there could be philosophical implications about that people could read into if they want to, but those were kind of some of the design choices. And then like, I think I look at Barbie and I do think like I can see Angie, definitely the character designer, sort of almost mirrored in her, you know, a little bit, which is odd. But I think everyone pours a piece of themselves into things. So like, and when I look at Vico, I kind of think of my uncle a little bit. So like there's definitely like a shade of that energy there where like my uncle was kind of like a dude who introduced me to film. So like I do kind of see Vico as kind of a version of my uncle, you know?
And the triangular law enforcement people, who did
Oh
you see
yeah,
them
thank
at?
you for reminding me. Yeah, you know, I think I missed the mark because like I should have done those robots that are in the Bronx now, the four-legged robot hounds, which to me was really weird to see that article circulating in social media and in the news, where I was like, man, Nuevo Rico just dropped, and now there's like robot drones in the Bronx. I was like, man, I didn't miss the mark. That I thought we had 100 years left before we got robotic cops, but I guess I guess we're closer than I thought. Yeah, no, I like the shape of the triangle as like it's intimidating. You know, it's sharper. It contrasts the other characters too. You know, so like they can have kind of like this. There's this. Every character has like kind of a shape associated to them, and I don't know. I think. There's been like a very complex like things that we should confront about law enforcement. So like I felt having that in the film was important too. Puerto Ricans deal with like a lot of those issues with law enforcement too, you know. Even I growing up had like a lot of awkward, strange encounters with law enforcement where I was like, man, this is a, you know, because New York is a stop and frisk state. So like cops could have stopped you as a kid. My brother even had issues with that where sometimes he would be stopped, you know? So like, you had to really be like, if you grew up in New York City during the 90s, which is when I grew up there, you definitely had to be like on alert with cops, you know? So like, it was definitely like, they felt like very intimidating as a kid growing up, you know? So I think that's kind of like where that comes from.
Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and thank you for speaking with me on this short film. I really do appreciate it because it's far something different that I haven't seen before, and the music into this short film was actually terrific. So once again, Kristian, hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate speaking to us.
Yeah, no, likewise. Thank you so much. I appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Hey, not a problem. Hopefully we'll talk to you again next South by Southwest.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I hope.
Thank you. Bye now.